Welcome. Come with me. The doctors will see you now.
Welcome back to another episode of Fast Talks with Family Docs. I'm Dr. Phil Palmer, and I'm here with
Dr. Veer Vadala. Welcome back, folks. Today we're joined by Dr. Elizabeth Saladin, my friend and a fellow family physician with expertise in obesity medicine, who also happens to be a farmer, a builder, and a community advocate. Along with her husband, Josh, she co-owns Firefly Farmstead in Newalla, Oklahoma, a family-owned farm built with love and hard work. From pickles, potatoes, salsa, and onions, you can buy her fresh produce at the Norman Farmers Market. And I'm not sure if that's still happening, probably.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That's amazing.
There's even a winter market. Now,
Okay.
I am not there in the winter because I have no produce to sell, but there are people there that do.
Well, she does
Yeah.
that. And now she's raising baby goats. And just recently got a donkey
I did.
named Carl.
That was like,
This is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Most recently, however, they've also expanded to Firefly Homes, and you're
Yeah.
building homes.
Yeah. We're crazy.
And so Dr. Saladin brings a one-of-a-kind perspective, not only health and wellness, but living with intention. And we're excited to have her here today so we can talk about her journey in medicine, obesity medicine, and life outside of the clinic.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here, Dr.
Yeah.
Saladin.
Great having you.
Thank you guys for asking me.
So I think I'm going to start off like my interest in obesity medicine, and we used to work at metabolic weight loss clinics together. I think that's a great place to start. Such a big topic currently. What inspired you to have this special interest in patients' weight and in obesity medicine in general?
Yeah. I grew up in Oklahoma, and I am enrolled in the Seminole tribe. And so I grew up going to Indian Health Service like as a patient, as a child. My mom worked there until she retired as a lab technician, and both of my sisters currently still work at one in Clinton, Oklahoma.
Wow.
And so I guess once I realized that I was going to get into medical school and get to become a doctor, like that was what I wanted to do, was to work for Indian Health Service and kind of give back. And so the first 10 years after residency were with tribes. So I was in North Carolina for 4 years with the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians, and then the last 6 years with the absentee Shawnee tribe in Norman and Shawnee. Mm-hmm. And so you guys know there's just a higher prevalence of diabetes and chronic diseases in that population. And so I kind of just got bummed out, about diagnosing so much.
Yeah.
And I was just really felt helpless. Like, when we did talk about weight, I really felt like I didn't have the knowledge or the tools to help people really. And so that's when I learned about Obesity Medicine Association, and then went to the conference and then got board certified. And so it was really exciting. Like it really did kind of just made me like family medicine a lot more once I did that.
Yeah.
Like it just made it more fun. I felt like I could help people really in a way that I hadn't been able to. And so that's kind of what got me into it, is because I was kind of feeling a little burnout about like diagnosing disease. And now I felt like I had tools where I could like prevent disease.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my understanding of obesity medicine, so I'm not certified in that, but what I know of my studies of lifestyle medicine and looking at nutrition, that a lot of illness and probably a lot, if not all of the obesity that we're dealing with in our country is related to food choices, certainly food portions, but also food choices and a high amount of processed foods versus more natural foods. And there's a lot of evidence that if people were pursuing a much more plant-based diet, that it would address a lot of medical issues we deal with and have a big role in weight loss. How does living on a farm, producing from the ground that you're then turning around, selling to other people, how has that impacted you and influenced your interaction with patients and your practice of family medicine and obesity medicine?
Yeah. When we first moved to this farm, we had all these ideas. Like I wanted to build like a community farm stand where you could just put your produce out there and let it just be like an honor system, or even if you didn't have money to just take what you needed. I would say that we are in a food desert. Sometimes the Dollar General will have produce.
Wow.
There's a Dollar General everywhere out in the country, but so that's what I was kind of envisioning when we first moved out there. I thought that would be so cool. And then we kind of started looking into different farmers markets and things like that. And so our main crop is strawberries. And then when I realized, okay, well, strawberries only are going to, make fruit this many weeks out of the year.
Kind of seasonal.
So then I was like, okay, what do I plant? So I planted onions and potatoes, a whole lot of them, and kind of those were my backup crops to sell at the farm market. But I think well, for one, it's very therapeutic for me, like to just be outside and to like get my hands in the dirt and my feet on the ground. And I really enjoy it. Now, when I try to get my children out there to help me like weed and stuff like that's like, they don't enjoy it as much as I do. And so it's hard work though. Like, I mean, it really is. That's one thing I've learned about growing food is that it's a lot of work, and you have to plant a lot for a lot, not much in return sometimes. And so I just have a lot of respect for farmers now because I realize like how hard it is. But I think it's a good point to bring up with patients, and it makes me connect with patients because a lot of people garden themselves or are master gardeners. Like it's just a good way to connect with patients, and then we can kind of talk a little about nutrition. I do try to refer patients to a nutritionist, and I tell them up front, like, hey, I'm not a nutritionist, but like, these are the little key things that I try to keep things simple because I feel like things can be so overcomplicated. And then, I don't know, some people love that, but some people get overwhelmed and then just give up. And so I try to just keep it simple and offer what I know, and then definitely make sure people know that there's a lot more they can learn from a nutritionist. But, I just think that eating food that you grow is so special. Like, it's so neat to not, you don't even have to wash it off sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, there's no chemicals on it. It's straight from the ground. And it tastes so much better. Yeah. It really does.
Sure. Yeah.
So, and you just are so proud when you get your...
I know, you've actually produced this.
Yeah. So.
I attempted. I did not succeed.
What did you try to grow? What were you trying to grow?
Oh, I don't even remember. It was like basil and mint. Just like small plants. We have a money plant that's still surviving, but about that. But my mother-in-law has that green thumb, so it's everything she started. And when she left, we're like, oh, well, we did not do this well. Yeah. But I think it's so cool. I just came back from a trip from Europe, and I feel like food tastes better because it's like farm to table.
Yeah.
Isn't
that awesome? Yeah. I love that concept too.
But I love that you're doing this, and you say you're able to connect better with your patients because you have that shared experience.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there, especially when we're talking about weight to our patients.
Yeah.
And, can you think of one that you keep seeing in your practice, and you're like, hey, this is not true. Here's the real thing when it comes to weight?
Yeah. Well, I guess the biggest one that gets on my nerves is that people think that it's totally a choice of like a person's, it's only their choice. You know what I mean? It's their choices that got them here. And they're just, the famous not exercising enough or eating too much. And so that's just really hurtful, I think, because there's so many other factors that factor into it. And so just to get people to understand that this is a really complicated and complex disease. And I think it's kind of hard to treat, honestly, but I think that's kind of why I like it, is because it's challenging and it's different. Everybody is different. Like all the factors are different for everybody. And so, but I just think taking that blame off of patients is, it's like sometimes people even cry whenever we have that conversation where I'm just like, and I have to correct them. I have to be like, okay, I know this is going to take time, but we have to work on like destigmatizing this. Mm-hmm. Okay. Like I know society says this is, all your fault and whatever, but there's a lot of factors here that we can't control, and there are some that we can. And so let's talk about like what those are. And so I think that's the biggest thing that bothers me. The other thing is like once people reach their weight maintenance, like where they're wanting to maintain their weight, I don't like that people kind of are judged a little bit for being on medication for maintenance. Like even at pharmacies and stuff, like I've had patients say, well, like the pharmacist looked at me and said, like, why are you on this? And I'm like, well, they don't know that you have just really lost 100 pounds over
Yeah.
the last 2 years, and that we're trying to maintain and control this disease. And so that I feel bad for people.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I'm just like, just don't tell people what you're on. Like, it's none of their business, you know, like, because people just always have something to say, and it's not nice all the time.
That's true.
I mean, studies are even clear, like, you know, with the GLPs, once you stop, a lot of patients gain their weight back. And that's why weight maintenance is important.
Right.
I just try to normalize that disease with any other disease, like the way we talk about it and the way I bring it up. And I just think that it'll take, I mean, it's happening. Like, we're seeing with the way that these medications are available or more available, people are treating obesity more, which is great. And people are, I think, hopefully realizing that it's a complex disease and not just a choice. Yeah.
So, you know, you made the comment about even with your patients, you have to change some of their perspective of the disease they're dealing with. And what, from your practice, what have you seen as one of the biggest obstacles patients have to overcome as they're redoing that perspective and as they're looking at this as not just a magic shot or increasing exercise, but having to change my lifestyle and how I approach interacting with the world? What's the biggest obstacle that you see patients struggling with?
I think probably it's the behavioral health component to treating obesity. Like, we focus on 4 pillars: nutrition, exercise, behavioral, and medication. And so behavioral is a pillar that, like, sometimes gets uncovered as you start to treat obesity. And so, like, talking about mental health and how people feel about themselves and their confidence and negative self-talk and things like that. I think we dig that up a lot when we're treating obesity. And so, like, I also try to normalize that. I really do. I just really try to normalize, like, that we're human, that we're all human, and that there are like things that we can do to help this as well, you know. But I think because people sometimes they're like oblivious to that whole pillar. Like, they're like, well, no, I'm fine. You know, I don't have anxiety or depression or blah, 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 you know, but they might have a really unhealthy relationship with food. Like, and so it's just like digging at that a little bit and trying to convince people, like, hey, like, have you ever seen a therapist? Like, would you ever be willing to do that? You know? So I've probably that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. So Dr. Vidala mentioned that your farm was built with love and hard work. So tell us how you and Josh kind of got started in Firefly Farms. A little harder to say than
Yeah, right. I guess it's been a long dream of ours to live on a farm. And I grew up in the country in Western Oklahoma, but then I went to medical school at Washington, D.C., at Howard University. So we were in the city, and then residencies usually in a bigger city. It was in Fayetteville, Arkansas. But we just always were like, we want to get back to the country, you know, and have some land. And I drove past this farm every day for 6 years and never even knew that there was a house on the hill until I saw a for sale sign. And so that's when I was like, let's check this house out. And it was super cute. And it had 29 acres, which my husband likes to hunt. So he was excited about that.
Yeah.
And so anyways, I think we named it Firefly Farmstead maybe within the first year, because early summer, there are tons of fireflies out in the backfield, and it is so magical.
Yeah.
And so we were like, let's call it this. And so that's kind of where the name came from. And then I started creating this list of grandiose ideas of let's have a wedding venue, and let's have Airbnbs out back, like camping experiences. Let's have date night at Firefly Farmstead where you can go watch the fireflies, you know. And man, it got crazy. So I had to kind of like rein that in a little bit and really be like, okay, what do we really want to do? So that's kind of where we started with the strawberries and just those few crops and things like that. And then we really wanted it to be like a farm open to the public, but it was kind of hard when we both like work and stuff. So we've had to like, take our list of goals and kind of reassess like what we want, the direction that we wanted to go and just make some changes, not looking at it like we failed at doing this or something, because that's kind of how I like to look at things, like, oh, well, I didn't I didn't do that. So, but instead of just like looking at it like that, kind of just looking at it like we're just shifting what we're doing. Or we may do this maybe just in another chapter of life, like when our kids are grown or something.
Yeah.
So, but I just love working outside, and my husband is a really great farmer too. So
Yeah.
we make a good team though, and we come up with crazy ideas like the home building. That came next. Yeah.
Well, tell us about the goats and Carl.
Oh, okay. Yes. So the goats were acquired at an auction. I don't know if you guys have ever been at an auction, but they're every
not.
Thursday night in Jones, Oklahoma. It's the coolest thing I've ever seen. You can
Livestock
go,
auction?
Yes,
Okay.
livestock auction. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's how we acquired like 4 goats to start with. And we were like, we're just going to have these goats to eat like the brush, and clear out where all the trees are and stuff like that. And so they were kind of like bigger sized goats. They're not like super cute and jumping around and hill clicking and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And one day I was driving to work and I thought I saw a skunk in the road. And so I slowed down and I stopped and I opened my door and it was a goat. It was the tiniest little black and white goat. And so she wanted me to pick her up. So I did. And then I was like, okay, well, it's like 7 a.m. and I'm in purple scrubs walking up to somebody's house like, hey, is this your goat? And they said, no, it's not ours. But anyways, long story short, we found the owners and we asked them like, hey, is there any way we could keep this goat? We'll buy it. Like, we'll pay for this goat. But we're already in love with her, you know? And so they were so nice and they came over and they were like, she's really happy here. We can tell. And you have kids that really love her. And I'm like, it's me that loves her, and they were like, so you can just have her. I was like, oh my
that's
gosh.
so sweet.
Yes. So that's how we got Dottie, and she's so sweet. And then like, it was weird. 2 weeks later on Facebook, someone had a baby goat that they couldn't take care of because they lived in town or something. It was bottle fed.
Yeah.
And so I'm like the goat whisperer now. So I was like,
get that goat too.
Yeah. My husband's like, where are you going? I'm like, getting another goat, So now that's Boots. And so Dottie and Boots.
Dottie and Boots.
Yeah, they're besties. And then we also acquired a little pig.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so, yeah, we just, I don't know. And they're for no purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just to bring joy. Like, that's it.
Hey, it's
So-
very important.
Yeah, it is.
Emotional
really.
support animals.
Really and truly. Like, they're so cute.
Yeah.
So
So what about Carl though? How'd you guys?
Okay, I've wanted a donkey for like 7 years. Like, I've been asking for a donkey every year for my birthday, for Christmas, everything. And like, I don't know why it has taken this long to get a donkey for me. But we came across a little donkey that was for sale. And so my husband said yes. And so now we have Carl, and he is super cute and fuzzy, and his ears are like super big. So cute.
That's a cool life on a farm.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
So,
All right, so we've got obesity medicine and strawberries and goats
yeah.
and Carl the
Yeah,
donkey, and
yeah.
there's more to come. So viewers and listeners, thanks for your time. We're going to wrap this one up. We'll see you with the next episode of Fast Talks with Family Docs.
Thank you for joining us today. The doctors would like to see you back for another check-in. Please choose to follow our podcast and you will automatically be notified when it's time for your next appointment.